Hi, today we will be talking about a movie titled Arrival. The movie begins as a woman's voice crying about memory and time, while the same mother, Louise, is cuddling with her newborn baby. Louise is checking her daughter, who is bad as she claims. She loves her, but then turns into a teenager who says she hates her. The two of them are at the doctor when Louise learns her daughter has cancer and will not survive. Some days serve as the backdrop for larger narratives, such as the day the aliens arrived and everyone in the building gathered around a screen. But she walks right past them. When one of her students asks her to turn on the news to hear about a mysterious object touching down in Montana and at least 8 other countries around the world, Louise starts the lecture right away. Despite the nearly empty room, Louise then dismisses the class and continues with the lecture. After the alarm goes off, whoever is listening to the news in her car has heard rumors that the 12 items that have been discovered so far are alien in origin. Louise keeps watching the news as objects are seen on the television spread across the world, with no obvious link between the locations they've landed on. Governmental agencies report that they have protocols for such scenarios, but Louise seems unconcerned by them. She is talking on the phone to her mother about the news, and her mother is worried about her situation and nods off in front of the television. After returning 2 days later to an empty institution, Louise continues to follow the news from her office. She is listening to reports about how the world is responding to the alien craft when a man enters her office and introduces himself as an army colonel. He asks her to translate something for him once more and places a recorder on the desk, taking into account her prior experience translating for the army intelligence and their ongoing security clearance. The colonel insists on asking her questions that she can answer for him from an audio file. Even though she is astonished and perplexed, he becomes irate and tells her that he can't take her to Montana because it's either translating from the file or nothing. In the middle of the night, the colonel knocks on her door and tells her to pack her bags because they are leaving in a helicopter. Once inside, she meets the person she will be working with. The theoretical physicist quotes her for writing about linguistics and says that science, not language, is the cornerstone of civilization. As day breaks, the helicopter is approaching Montana. Louise notices the monster you see in the distance when she stares out the windows. Their phones are taken away and they are given special instructions once they get to the army camp and have to follow strict protocol on their trip to the medical facility. The doctor administers a few tests and administers an immunization to the two of them before transporting them to the main area of the camp, where connections with the other 12 nations have been made. The Australian representative described an issue with the vessel's gravity and air circulation, explaining that they only have 2 hours of air once inside before the colonel enters and removes the two of them. They are getting into hazmat suits and getting ready to board the ship as they approach it, and Louise appears to be queasy and excited as the army vehicles approach the ship, which appears enormous from Bella and Louise, the colonel and a few others, and explains the mission priorities before taking them to their stations and introducing them to their teams. The team is transported inside the ship using an elevator, and they enter through a hole in the base as they gradually lose radio reception. The colonel expects her to start translating what appears to be noise coming from the other side when the team returns to the base, and Louise is asking if she's fired, as in his vomiting on Nov when the aliens suddenly arrive at the window. And a gust of what appears to be smoke. Strange sounds can be heard from the other side as they appear. The colonel on our side tells her that she only has a few hours to come up with a solution before they go back inside. A few soldiers watch the news as it reports that the level of panic around the world has increased. Agent Halpern are still speaking with the Australian team, informing them that they still have nothing. Louise and her team return inside, this time bringing a whiteboard with them. She writes the word human on it and approaches the creatures, hoping that written communication will be more effective. The creatures suddenly vanish, and when they do, they begin writing again in their native tongue. They show her one symbol at first, and then several more. The colonel then meets up with her, and she presents him with her list. She explains it to him by writing the most crucial question he needs answered on a board, because he is not impressed by a simple list. When the alarm goes off, Louise breaks down the query and what she needs to know about it, so they might understand their response. Once inside, she writes down her name, and the aliens react with the initial symbol, slightly modified. Louise takes a picture of her while claiming that the soldiers need to see her. She sort of touches the window as she gets close to the aliens, and the alien does the same. After showing them her name once more and receiving a new symbol from one of them, she thinks she's making progress, so the alien removes his costume and identifies himself. The team returns to the base camp, and she suddenly feels ill, remembering something about the child back at medical school. The doctor is upset that she is putting herself in danger by taking off her suit, but the colonel and Agent Halpern are willing to take that risk given her progress. In exchange, the aliens give them more symbols, many of which are their names. Louise and the other experts have discovered that the alien ship's summit knows about waste gas radiation. Additionally, communication between the ships via sound or light is imperceptible to humans. The expert is still baffled as to why they had to stop when they did, and Louise is the only one making any progress. She discovers that there is no connection between what the aliens said and what is true, which renders their writing directionless and free of time. The planet is spiraling out of control while it takes a month for the aliens to respond to a simple sentence. As a result, answering the difficult topic of why they are on Earth would take longer. Captain Marks and another soldier begin listening to conspiracy theorists as the news reports severe rioting and significant demonstrations in response to the viralization of an elite alien photo. Online users appear to have begun to accept it. Louise is attempting to translate the symbols when she recalls the young girl showing her a sketch she had drawn while they were discussing divorce losses. She was asked by Anne if she was okay, but she was unable to articulate what was wrong. When the colonel enters and inquires as to when she last saw a doctor, Louise goes outside and recalls hazy memories of growing up with a child, including the period when she was in love and the time when she fell ill. Back at the base, she is speaking to Ed again. He's keen to see if she dreams in their language after reading about a theory that suggests learning a new language alters the way you think. As she has defied standing next to her in the room, she is afraid that people will believe she is unqualified for the position. The colonel advises Louise to ask the aliens the important question. Louise, he and Anne, since he believes that both China and Russia are preparing to launch an offensive. She tries to ask the crew a question and create a symbol for the alien response as everyone waits for her translation, which ends up being an offer of a weapon back in the ship. Louise and Anne defend the aliens at the camp by claiming that they are unable to distinguish between a weapon and Anatolia. The colonel is curious about how she can help him grasp their goals. After the army departs, Agent Halpern comes in and Louise, saying that he believes the aliens are dividing humanity and that history is full with instances where this has happened. Louise adds that she needs to speak with them again. When an alarm abruptly sounds, Louise and I are left alone in the room. Louise repeatedly switches between the present in the camp and the future with her daughter, and the future she opens. She has written the book and is currently reviewing the information from the aliens. She gets visions of herself teaching the alien language in the future and recalls them in the present. Suddenly, she realizes she can interpret the data, knows what the weapon is, and tells the colonel that it's truly a gift. The colonel refuses to listen to her when she says that when you truly learn an alien language, you begin to think like them in non-linear time. However, she has another vision of what will occur 18 months from now. General Shang approaches Louise on an international holiday with the sole intention of meeting her face to face. She didn't know his private number, so he gave it to her and said, "Now that you know," and she remembered it. The president then ran off to call the general. In the meantime, Agent Halpern were being told that someone was calling China from the camp on his personal phone, and he sensed men to find the person using. While she waits for the call to get through, Louise muses about possible future responses. She recounts what she said to him over the phone, after Shang informs her what she said to him when he was present and running from the helper. They surround her as she tries to argue with the general, and when she is finished, the general shields her and says she has it. Later in the present, as news reports on a press conference General Shang made informing the public that China is standing down and would start sharing all other information with the other 12 countries, alien ships from all over the world start to leave the atmosphere. After the aliens lever of her daughter's true procreation, he and Louise didn't get married and had Hannah as a couple. Louise is left with the idea that Hannah lived a short life and died young. As the parts of the future she had been seeing fit together, Louise decides to have the baby. The movie ends here. Thank you for watching. Please leave a like, subscribe and don't forget to turn on the notification bell.